Humans of the cardboard, look at this abomination on your screen. Okay, 4 new Fabled cards revealed today. We got the 4 Jurak cards for Terminal World 2 yesterday. We're getting the 4 Fabled cards for Terminal World today. We have no idea what the other 2 even archetypes are just yet. We don't even have like the cover revealed yet for Terminal World 2, but we will get that in the next couple weeks / month, I would guess. We would actually see that, and we'll actually have an idea of what we're looking at there. But tonight this is kind of hype. I mean, I do think with especially the release of Fiendsmith stuff, Fabled and Magical Musketeers are the 2 like pretty pure light Fiend archetypes that belong in the game. I know Fabled isn't like pure light Fiend, but a lot of their monsters are light Fiend, so they have really good synergy there. So that's got to be a huge boost, but we'll obviously have to see as we go. Let's see how we do, keeping that stuff in mind. There's a couple of good Fabled cards that already exist, but it's not a ton, especially for the amount of Fabled cards that exist. Only a handful of them are actually that good, in my opinion. So let's jump into this thing and see how this thing works, because this thing is heinous looking. Good God. Okay, this is the Fabled Behemoth. Level 2 Light Beast. Actually not a Light Fiend. Level 2 Light Beast. Tuner effect monster. Also a level 2 Beast, which could have synergy with some of the... not Tri-Brigade, but... yeah, I guess it's kind of Tri-Brigade stuff. Whatever, some of those Beast synergy cards. Anyway, 1000 attack, 600 defense. You can only use the first and second effects of this card once per turn. If this card is in your hand, you can discard 2 or more Fabled monsters, including this card. Okay, I like that it's including this card. So that means at least all you need to do is have 1 other Fabled monster in hand. And if you do, special summon a Fabled Synchro monster from your extra deck whose level equals the discarded monster's total original levels. This is treated as a synchro summon. Interesting. So this just allows you to do a synchro summon from hand immediately. Very cool. And it discards, so it triggers. Very cool. All right, second effect. If a card is sent from your hand to the graveyard while this card is in your graveyard, you can banish this card as cost to special summon a Fabled monster from your hand. Summons from hand. That's so mid, right? Like you have to already get this guy in grave, have another way to discard, and have a Fabled monster in hand that you would even want to summon. I don't love that second effect, to be honest. The first effect is something. The first effect is absolutely not nothing, especially because I do think it is searchable for sure. You do need the levels to match up, and that is something that's a little bit awkward if consistency is not all the way there. But I will say this. There is a pretty good level 6 synchro for Fabled. There's also a level 4 synchro that's crazy. So Unicore is like a crazy endboard piece, and Wraith is a pretty good just like card to go through as you're going through. It's either going to force your opponent to lose a card from hand, or it's going to let you draw 2, discard 1. Either outcome is pretty decent. So that just means him plus any 2 or 4 monster, and I think this one's a 4 as well. So I'll have to see how this guy does. But those are the 2 big ones to me. Cool. That's a good place to get started. All right. Next up here we have Fabled Gamagen. Level 4 Light Fiend Synchro Tuner. So it says a Synchro Tuner. I don't think they actually have a Synchro Tuner yet, so that's cool. Effect monster, 2000 attack, 0 defense. 1 Fabled Tuner plus 1 or more non-tuners. Cool. That's fine. You can only use the first and third effect of this card once per turn. If this card is synchro summoned, you can special a Fabled monster from your hand or deck. There we go. That's really good because he's already a tuner in and of himself, so he's already getting you to the next level up. I will say, though, not too many of the Fabled monsters actually do much on field, but you can still summon one of the ones that does something from grave. There's a couple that have like an effect in grave that are like either discard a Fabled monster from hand to special summon them, or discard a Fabled monster from hand to add them back to hand. So, that does give you extra utility there. But the biggest thing is there's just something on their body, and this is already a tuner, so you just get right into the next synchro you want to get into, which is cool. Second effect, your opponent cannot target other Fabled synchro monsters you control with card effects. Okay, if you do leave this on the field, this does give extra protection to your other stuff. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, period. Wow. Okay. You can draw cards equal to the number of fabled synchro monsters you control, then discard one card. That's really nice, actually. You're just able to summon this card, summon a fabled from deck, use this as synchro material to go into like an Andwraith, and then you'd immediately be able to, one, chain block Andwraith if you wanted. Not that people are going to hand trap Andwraith because they can just discard instead. But then you're literally going to go, I'm drawing a card and my opponent is losing a card, basically. And you're getting the bonus of like draw one, discard one, and your opponent's just losing a card from hand. That's pretty solid. This is a pretty good Synchro 4 for sure. All right, one more big Synchro here. I hope this is a good end board piece because I think that's one of the things missing with Fabled so far in the archetype is that they just don't really have much in the way of end board pieces. It's like Unicore. They have a trap that like pops something, then reborn something, then discards something. But it's like not enough, I would say. The Fiendsmith stuff helps because you can potentially be ending on like Caesar or Diaz Irae if you want, but you know, an in-archetype tool that's really easy to get to would also be nice. So this is Fabled Swarm Leversbull. So this has Swarm in the name? Is this supposed to be like L-Swarm? Is this supposed to have like the L-Swarm name in it because it is part of Dual Terminal? I don't even know. Maybe this is a weird translation, but okay. I'm going to assume, for right now, I'm going to assume this is not a L-Swarm card, because otherwise that could have extra synergy with some other stuff. But level 10, Light Fiend Synchro, 30-50 attack, 1950 defense. Super weird stat line, but that's cool. He's completely generic as well. Any tuner plus one or more non-tuners. That's what we needed. More good level 10 Synchros that are generic. Second effect is a hard one to turn, but the first one is not. Once per turn during the main phase, you contribute any number of fabled monsters, and if you do, take control of that many face-up monsters your opponent controls. Their effects are negated. Whoa, that steal is permanent too. That is not even until the end phase. So at worst, this card is a non-target steal one monster your opponent controls, because he can tribute himself, of course. But in like a more pure Fabled deck, you could obviously end on more than one Fabled and be able to hit 2 or 3 even, which is really, really insane. Second effect, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one other Fabled card in your graveyard, return this card to the extract, and if you do, add that target to your hand. That's cool. I mean, that's just a bonus follow-up effect. Theoretically, you're not trying to put this in grave turn 1, so I don't think that's like the most insane thing in the world, but it's nice. It's an icing on the cake effect. This is a decent end board piece for sure. If you're talking about, can we make a board with like Diaz Irae, this guy, Leversbull, Unicore, and the trap that pops something, like that is something. That is like a board that's kind of scary overall. That actually might be good enough. But we also have one more spell to look at here. I believe one of the cards that came out a couple years ago, it's actually not that old, does search spells and traps, so let's hope this is good here. This is Fabled Realm Resurrection. Continuous spell card. You can only activate one card with this card's name per turn. When this card resolves, you can set one Fabled spell or trap from your deck. Interesting. So I believe there's a field spell that's decent. It's like a decent setup card. I think it Foolish Burial's a Fabled, and then it does like has some other bonus like draw effect. It's a decent card for the strategy. And then there's also the Trap Lead that I said is kind of like a weird Icarus attack where it like pops a card your opponent controls, then it reborns a Fabled, and then it discards a Fabled or something like that. It does like all 3 of those, which, you know, there could be utility in getting that card as well. That's pretty good though, because if you get the field spell and set it, you can just activate it immediately, and the trap you just set and add it to your board. Your opponent can activate cards or effects when your Fabled monster is synchro summoned. Interesting. So at least your guy who summons from deck your opponent can't respond to. Not that they would really want to respond to Andwraith, just because Andwraith, they can discard as part of Andwraith's effect to negate him, so that's not really a big deal. Okay, I mean, it makes it just a little bit more awkward, depending on the type of interactions your opponent has to interact with some of the deck's plays. And last effect, once per turn, you can discard a Fabled card, then activate one of these effects, draw one card, or special summon a Fabled monster from your graveyard or banishment. This card's really, really good. It gets a card on activation. It has a discard effect that is just like a replace itself too. Like sometimes decks like this, some like Dark World, you have concerns about having too many discard effects and not enough ways to replace. This is a discard that draws or summons one back, so you are getting fair value for it. And then the bonus, obviously, protection effect as well. This card's really, really good for the deck. Overall there, I like that quite a bit. Is this enough? I honestly have no idea. I've not seen much about Fabled. I've honestly been a little bit surprised that like we haven't seen anything really Fabled with the Fiendsmith stuff coming out, because they do have such good synergy. It's almost like Magical Musketeer level, and Magical Musketeer became, you know, a borderline top 10 deck when Fiendsmith came out. It's considered like a legit strong like rogue deck now. But nothing here, and maybe that just was speaking to the current state of Fabled, and they're just not there. I mean, the Fiendsmith engine already played Lurie, but that's not enough on its own. So maybe this stuff helps us enough. I really don't have the best idea of consistency and what cards are actually great. I mean, going through it, there's not like a million great Fabled cards, even in the main deck. So we'll definitely have to see where we actually end up and what we can build here. The Fiendsmith stuff really gives me a good inclination that, like, hopefully there should be something here, enough at least to, like, you know, be a new playable rogue deck. But obviously nothing's guaranteed there, so we're just going to have to keep an eye on that and hope that it is. Hopefully the support does enough. But obviously, if you are a Fabled player or somebody who already knows kind of the ins and outs of Fabled and everything they have access to already, plus the Fiendsmith stuff, let me know in your opinion where this support kind of ranks. Does it actually make this deck a legit viable rogue deck or not? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. But that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down below. I will see you in the next video. I will keep you posted with all things Yu-Gi-Oh news. We could still easily get something tomorrow as well. I don't know yet, but it's still totally possible, so I'm not going to rule it out just yet. But we'll obviously have to wait and see. But I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.